Hey there, and welcome to the After Gambling Podcast. My name is still Jamie. I'm still a compulsive gambler, and the last time I gambled is still July 15th of 2010. Now, for those of you that have been listening right along, you noticed a change in the name, and I'll discuss that today. But before I say anything further about the name change, I just want to say nothing's really going to change. And that's why I think in the intro, I just wanted to talk about I'm still Jamie. I'm still a compulsive gambler, and the date I gambled is still July 15th of 2010. Because nothing about the podcast, the episodes, the goals, any of that is going to change. So why the name change? Really, the most simplest way I can describe this is just that something inside of me has changed. I think I'm in a much different place in my recovery today than when I started the podcast even just 5 months ago. And I know I'm in a completely different place than when I first purchased the domain with the thought of doing some kind of blog. At the time, I didn't have the idea of doing a podcast. It was just going to be a blog. But when I purchased the domain, Gambling Still Sucks, back in, I think it was 2013 or 2014. So back then, I was in kind of a darker place. I was still dealing with a lot of depression. Depression is something that keeps coming back to me, but over the years, it's gotten much, lighter, and I've learned how to deal with it. And I'm getting much, much better at understanding my depression, what triggers my depression, and then how to kind of sort my thoughts out and get my thoughts and feelings out. And a lot of it, I'll be honest, is this podcast. This podcast is my outlet that allows me to share and to expose some of the things that I'm very ashamed of or had a lot of shame about. And that has been freeing of me. And a lot of that has taken away a lot of my depression and kind of the darkness that I was feeling back then. But with that darkness, I mean, obviously the name Gambling Still Sucks. That was one that when I was thinking of how to come up with a name, I think I've told some people before that the name was really, first of all, just to differentiate from all the pro gambling stuff. And there were all these sites. I mean, it was hard to come up with a name with gambling that showcased that this wasn't going to be something that gave you odds or predictions on games. And so I thought, okay, I'll do something that's very descriptive. Gambling Still Sucks. And that was it was good at the time because it also matched up with my thoughts and my personal feelings. And really, it was a reminder to me. It was kind of a daily reminder, hey, gambling still sucks for you. Like, it's not going to be good because everything when I was gambling, I mean, that addiction kept telling me, oh, no, this is good for you. This is your way out. Gambling is the way out. You can do this. You're good at it. Just keep doing it a little bit longer. Once you get even, then you can quit. I mean, the great fantasy that we all have as gamblers. And so that reminder that gambling still sucks really resonated with me when I came up with it because it was kind of that daily reminder, hey, this is not good for you. And so that worked. And when I did the imagery, I did the black and the gold, the logo and all that type of stuff. Everything was done in black and gold and was very dark. And now, I mean, looking back, it was definitely kind of fitting of the depression and the way I felt inside. But as I said earlier, now I don't feel that way. And I noticed that a few weeks ago, I was working on getting my Instagram page going. And if you haven't followed yet on Instagram, if you're on Instagram, you can find it at After Gambling. So it's After Gambling on Instagram, After Gambling on Twitter. And then also there's a Facebook page. If you search After Gambling, you can check out the Facebook page. And I'm thinking about doing a private group on Facebook. So if that's something that's of interest to you, shoot me a message. And maybe that's something that we'll get set up going forward. But I'm definitely going to be doing a lot on Instagram stories. So check out Instagram for sure. And then we'll see what happens with Facebook going forward. But back to the Instagram post, I was creating some Instagram posts and I just had some thoughts and I was like, okay, this is a great place for me to share some of my thoughts. And so I wanted to do kind of the imagery and then thoughts and kind of inspirational stuff, kind of things for hopeful thoughts and feelings. And what I realized quickly was the black and the gold doesn't really match up too well with hope and inspiration. It's very dark. And like I said, it matched the time I was in then, but it was going to be really hard moving forward to use that dark black and the gold to do stuff that I felt like showcased the hope and inspiration that I'm starting to feel inside and that I hope you either have started to feel a little bit of it or will start to feel in the future, things starting to come back. It's almost like life returning. And like I said, with that, that was kind of the icing on the cake that pushed me over the edge to say, yes, this needs to be done. Because I do want to have these things be more motivational, be more inspirational. And really, I just don't want to keep posting in dark black and gold anymore. I really like blues and greens and bright colors, and I want it to be vibrant because I think so many of the campaigns paint that kind of negative, depressing look and feel. And there's a time and a place for that. That definitely connects. Would connect with me back when I was closer and definitely right in the midst of my gambling. But I think it's also important to showcase after gambling, life after gambling, family after gambling, happiness after gambling, all these things that happen after you stop gambling. And so that was kind of the trigger to come up with the name, the After Gambling. And it is kind of, almost think of it as a blank space after gambling. And you can insert whatever it is in that space. Family, hobbies, all those types of things that we start to get back to when we get to the point where we stop gambling. Because when we're gambling, gambling consumes us all day, whether we're doing it or we're thinking about it. It just absolutely consumes us. And so I want to start to move the podcast in a direction and the social media accounts in the direction to the hope, the inspiration, the life after gambling, the family after gambling, work after gambling, all these things that are going to be great once we stop gambling, because our life starts to return and our emotions start to return and our feelings, all these things that we kind of push to the side when we're gambling start to come back. So that's how I came up with the name and kind of the imagery. And I'm one of those people, I mean, my birthday's in February and I'm an Aquarius. I'm a water bear, and I don't know why, but like I love songs about water. So you'll definitely see some kind of surf and water inspiration in a lot of the stuff. And it's just, from the design side of me, it just really appeals to me personally. So I think it's also going to appeal to a lot of you, because I know a lot of you guys are similar age, probably similar interest. But I don't know. It'll be more uplifting for sure. It's like I say, there aren't going to be these motivational quotes buried in these dark and ugly colors, which would have had to happen if I would have kept the colors. And then on the name, like I said, I already got into a little bit about the life after gambling and the after gambling focus of it. But the name was the one thing that, even when I started the show, I wasn't 100% sold on. It was a domain that I had bought, like I said, back in 2013 or 2014. And it definitely signified that this wasn't something that was pro-gambling or to teach you how to gamble. And so I like that part of it. And I like the reminder of it. But I didn't like the fact that, to an outsider that doesn't listen, they would assume that this is going to be something that's just going to bash gambling as an industry time and time again. And I think I've definitely been hard on the industry. And I think the industry deserves me to be hard on it. And there are definitely things that the industry needs to do and to work on. And as I've said before, I could never personally work in that industry. And I couldn't work in any industry that is a zero-sum game where our company would only win at the loss of others. And I know there's that thought that gambling is this form of entertainment, but every other form of entertainment, I know what my price is going in the door. If I buy floor seats to the game, I know they're going to cost me a lot more than if I buy nosebleed seats, but I know exactly how much that entertainment's going to cost. And that variance in that cost of entertainment, I don't think any of us would go to a movie and be like, all right, hey, go watch. I just went to watch Incredibles 2 with my kids. You go watch Incredibles 2, and when you walk out the door, we'll either tell you that, okay, we'll pay you to come to watch the movie, or it's going to cost you $10,000. I mean, and it can be any variance of the total amount of money you have. Nobody would fall for that type of entertainment. Nobody would want to do that type of entertainment. If you went to a game and it's like, well, it'll cost you somewhere between all the money you have and then the money you have times 10, you may gain that. The hope of that would be fun if you win, but nobody would do it because nobody wants to lose for that type of entertainment. So gambling as an entertainment, I know people can do it. And I guess that's the other part of this, which is I know that people can go to the casino and just gamble $20 and leave. Like I said before, I know my wife is one of those people. And so I don't want to be a hypocrite and say, okay, hey, if it's bad for me, gambling's bad for everyone. Because I understand and accept the fact that that's not true. I think it's a dangerous game to play. I will definitely say that. And I don't encourage my wife to go. And I wouldn't encourage anyone else to go because I think that big win, as we've talked about before, can really do something crazy to our thoughts and actions going forward. And the responsible gambler can quickly become a problem gambler with just one big win. And so that's why I don't encourage people to go to do it, but I know people can do it recreationally. And also, I know there are things that I do personally. I can go and enjoy a drink and just have one. But I know people. I mean, I have friends and we know family friends that have alcohol problems. And they can't do what I can do. And so I also don't want to be a hypocrite. And so it's hard for me to say, okay, gambling still sucks. Like the whole gambling industry sucks when I don't say, well, the whole alcohol industry sucks or the whole tobacco industry sucks. I don't smoke, but I know it hurts people. So like, unless I was going to be hard on every single one, and that's just me personally, I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I want to kind of switch shoes with people and try to understand the thoughts and why people work in the industry. But even beyond that, I want to have dialogue with those people. Because let's face it, the government isn't doing a lot of funding. Almost all the funding, or the great majority of funding for problem gambling, comes from casinos. Now, it's probably begrudgingly. They probably don't want to do it. It's forced upon them. But if that money's coming out from them, I want to have a dialogue with them to either encourage them to do more with that money or to encourage them to create better campaigns. And maybe it's something they just don't know. And so I want to have that dialogue with them to understand, like, okay, how do you go about creating these campaigns? And what is the messaging? To have that dialogue will help more people. And so like I say, I just didn't want to have it be something that at face value, it looked like, okay, Gambling Still Sucks podcast. This is an anti-gambling podcast that I would never go on there if I was part of the industry because they're just going to bash me and they're going to try and pick a fight with me, which if you listen, you would know that that's not my goal. And I have no intention of picking a fight with anyone over this. It's just something that I want to get help and provide awareness before people have a problem. But then when they have a problem, also make sure that they can get to the help that they need. And so I think that by changing the name, I think I can attract more people in. And the more people you attract in, they hear your stories. And I think that's really powerful. If we can get some people from the industry to listen to the podcast and they hear my story and they hear your story and they hear our struggles, then it allows them to switch shoes with us and to better understand what's going on. And so maybe when they hear an episode and somebody shares how they wanted to self-ban, but they had to go to the casino to do it, and that they had heard, I mean, I know people that have gone to self-ban and then they end up gambling. So they went with the best of intentions, and yet it was too much for them. So if you hear this as you're an operator, maybe you say, okay, why are we doing that this way? What if we changed it where somebody could self-exclude on our website? Why can't they at least start the process there? And then we mail forms. And if they have to do verification or whatever they need to do it without the person going. Now, that's something that can be very beneficial. And that's just one example by having people from the industry listen to the podcast. Hopefully, they will have a better understanding of the struggles of the person that is a compulsive gambler. So hopefully you see that it's not something where I'm changing the name to appease the industry. It's simply one of those things that I want to have conversations. I would like to have conversations with all areas of the gambling industry, from therapists to operators to problem gamblers, you name it, people that run the state agencies. Because I think the more conversation we have, and that's the one thing we're not having right now, there's very little dialogue. And especially from us, the people that are most effective. And because of the shame, we don't have the dialogue. We don't have a voice in a lot of the matters. And so by doing this podcast, I do have a voice in some of the matters, and I want to make sure that we are attracting all of the players into the conversation so that we can get the most done going forward. Because what's done in the past is done, but I'm looking towards the future and making it better for my kids when they come up. So the treatment's there, the prevention's there. Just like we have DARE for drugs and alcohol here in the United States, which is a program run with cops, and they encourage kids at young ages and start to teach them the dangers of drugs and alcohol. Maybe we can get the same thing going with gambling if we can start that dialogue and get them to understand what some of these struggles are and encourage people. And if you're listening to this and you are from the industry, go read the Problem Gambling Reddit post. Listen to the stories on here. Like I said, I think that there will be some anger towards you. Sorry about that. Anything that wrecks your life, you're going to be a little bit angry with the other people. So hopefully you can understand that and switch shoes with us and understand that a little bit of anger is pretty natural. And it's no offense to you personally. It's just when you wreck your life doing something, you're not exactly welcoming of those people that facilitate it for others. So, but like I say, bringing more people in was the other reason for the change in the name. But it's that combination of feeling a whole lot different, feeling more optimistic, wanting to encourage people to look for the bright side after gambling, and then bringing more people to the table. Those two things, that pretty much sums up why I made the change. And being compulsive and impulsive, I wanted to make the change really quickly. And the other reason was because I'm going to be in Cleveland next week, and I'm going to be on a panel on sports betting and athletes, which is something I'm very passionate about. And so I'm going to be meeting a lot of people from the industry, and everything from therapists to industry operators to the state agency, those people. And like I say, I wanted to make sure I had business cards or a podcast that was something that they were curious about. And having a name that would be pushing them away or think that, okay, this is just going to be something that's just going to criticize us. We hear that enough. That's what I didn't want. So if you're listening to this and I met you at the convention, glad to have you. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for listening. Know that I'm not against you. I just want to better understand you, and hopefully you will better understand us so that we can work together to create change in the future. And so that will wrap up this episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hearing me out. And I just really wanted to make sure that you understood the thoughts and reasoning behind the name change, because you're invested in it and you are the audience, and I really appreciate you listening. And next episode, the second episode in what we're calling Season 2, is one you're not going to want to miss. It features a new friend of mine named Joe, who came on the podcast to share his struggles with gambling, and it was awesome. You just have to listen in. That's going to come out Friday, so be sure to tune in and listen to Joe share his story, because it is powerful stuff. So with that, I will end this episode, the first episode of Season 2 of the After Gambling podcast, previously known as the Gambling Still Sucks podcast. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.